Hey, I'm Mac. Welcome back to my channel. I'm just an ordinary average guy, BMW guy, who has turned a dream into a passion. So I'll turn you around and bring you up to speed on some stuff, and then show you where we're headed. So today I'm going to be working on installing the Toratech upper crash bars that fit to the OEMs. Now, it took me forever to get these in. So if you haven't seen any videos on this yet, just know and understand that these things have been hard to get. So I ordered these from a third-party retailer, good people, a bike thing, because their website had the most accurate information. Their website was more accurate about these than Toratech's website was. And I ordered from them, but it was on back order. So I finally canceled that back order because it was out like 60 days and I was still waiting for a ship date. And I went directly to Toratech and I waited about 3 weeks. So today it's like 71 degrees with 100% humidity, and I would have preferred to have been doing this when it was a lot cooler. I will tell you, I have seen some GS install videos, and I will tell you hands down that the GS and the GS Adventure is not going to be the same set of bars. So theirs was brackets that you attached. This one is one solid piece. And I'm going to go away from you for a while, but I have to get in there and take all this stuff off, and once I get it off I'll show you what it is for fitment. But I mean, just for fit and finish purposes, how much closer can you get than that? You know, I honestly think the Toratech's the one who makes the pieces, or uses the same manufacturer for their bars as what BMW uses for theirs, because there's no way that finish could be that close without it being out of similar shops, which is fantastic. In future videos I will be covering more on the Lone Rider stuff, and I will also be messing around with the DJI Mic 2s. I have the Mic 1s, but I've switched to the Mic 2 because the Mic 2 gives you the ability to Bluetooth connect, and I want to be able to Bluetooth connect directly to my X4. So there it is, all nice and covered up. Gotta be careful with the lenses on this thing. So, but anyway, that's where I'm at right now. So I'll go ahead and hit the pause button on this thing and start working on the teardown. And once I get the teardown complete, then I'll actually show you what the fitment looks like as you're trying to do the install. I've watched a few videos. Hats off to again, a bike thing. Those guys do a great disassembly video on the GS Adventure, and they do a total teardown. I'm hoping I don't have to tear down very far, but while it's down and tore down, I'm going to be actually fitting the Motocan wiring harness for, spoiler alert, another video, the Lone Rider Motolights. So that's coming up in future videos. So if you're interested in any of that, hit the like, subscribe button. I'd appreciate it. Obviously it helps, but in my case you might want to hit notifications as well, because I can't tell you when these videos are going to upload. I work just like everybody else does. Matter of fact, I'm gone usually 5.5 days a week. So just hit that notification button so you know when I upload the videos, because I can't really give you a timeline on it. All right, so we'll be back in a bit. Okay, so updates on the teardown. It's assembled on this side, so I'll be able to show you. This needs to come off, 3 screws. The plastic piece underneath needs to come off, which will have this one additional screw, and then it pops off. And then once you get that off, it's going to look like this. And then you're going to need to take this off. Now, I'm going to warn you, there's 2 screws that are in there that are holding this piece of plastic on. They're a little bit of a booger to get to. So what I found worked for me was the T25. Oh, by the way, all the screws that I've taken off so far are all T25s. What I ended up doing was having it on the center stand really helps. I was able to get in and break them loose by getting this in here, and it's tight. I mean, there's not much room in there. The stubbier the ratchet you have, the better off you're going to be. And then once you get them loose, then take this off and then hand and loosen them so that you don't drop your screws. and then have some place to put them. All the screws are the same up to this point, and I don't expect it to be any different. These plastic base washers, you need to kind of be careful where those go, so you can put those back in the same place. I'm not even sure myself, so when I take them off next time, I'll be looking for those plastic space washers to see where they go. All right, we'll get back to you in a bit. Okay, so more updates. Keep in mind, this isn't an uninstall video. I'm just trying to bring you up to speed of what you've got to try to get your front crash bars installed. So this is where they're going to mount up. The bracket is going to mount up. It's actually going to come in along the lines of these here, which are main structural. Only issue is, in order to get to that, this has to come off and this has to get off. So that's what I'm going to be doing next. And just FYI, this was pretty easy. And those plastic washers actually go up here on top of the chrome piece, so you know what's going on with that. But looks like this is going to have to come off, and from what I understand, it's like 10 bolts holding that thing on there, so 10 screws, T25s. But anyway, I'll keep you posted. Okay, so we are making progress. So, give you some idea of the bolt locations. You can see where the pieces of metal are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are push-ins. That'll throw you. This is the one that was the most difficult. It's down at the, I'm sorry, I had this position wrong. This is the one that was the most difficult. It's at the very bottom, okay? So be watching out for that one. Sorry, I can't hold this and the camera at the same time. But, you know, don't be afraid of it. It's just a matter of looking for T25s and removing them. Everything on here is T25. You do not have to remove the fog light. That's going to stay in mine regardless, even though I'm putting on additional lights. This is just a straight pull disconnect, so there's nothing really crazy going on there. You don't have to worry about that too much. And finally, to the nuts and bolts of things, which is this. So it's going to mount up, I believe, on these bigger bolts here. I would think, with it being a crash bar, that that's what it's going to bolt to. We won't know until I get the other side off. So I'll get back and I'll show you that in just a little bit. All right, so this one's going to stump you because it did me. This is up here. You have to pull this loose. It's just a pull tab. It's not going to hurt anything. It'll just snap back in place. All right, but to get to this, I put a socket on a T25 and I started it with my little ratchet, and I still couldn't get it. So that leaves me with that. But this thing, the whole thing's loose. That's the one that's going to be a booger. That's going to be bad for install, uninstall of the bracket, of the plastics, and reinstall. Anyway, there you go. All right, passenger side here, GSA. This plugs into this, and it's clipped here. So instead of breaking the zip ties, that's a snap connector. You can just pull that loose, and then that clears that, so it's clear. And then the same thing with the light on the side. You just pull up on these, and sometimes you have to give them a little bit, but they'll pull off. I say that, this one's being tough on me. There it goes. Okay. It may come off two different ways. It may come off with a clip still in. It may come off with a clip out. It just depends. It goes kind of both. It'll snap back together though, right? And then, like I told you before with the fog light, it's just a matter of pulling it. And voila, it's off. So, hold on. Orientating this way. This is the one that I would actually start with. On the bottom. And work your way to the top. That's what I've learned from doing this. It has those two snaps right there. You're going to pull back on those to release it. So what you could actually do is you could put it in place by snapping it, and it'll probably snap into the side of the tank right there, and then put that screw in the bottom first. That's going to be the one that's going to be the booger now. I'm just warning you ahead of time. That one's going to be a little bit harder. There's nothing about this that you can't do if you're not, you know, doing anything crazy. So now we're disassembled, and that's basically what the thing looks like when you're going for this last part. And I'm going to start by mounting this. Now, that appears to be the orientation. So that looks like that's it right there. I hope so. I'll mock it up first to make sure. All right, be back in a bit. Okay, I'm back. Toratech's online instructions are actually really good on this, by the way. There's a lot of pictures and a lot of description and some arrows that'll tell you where stuff is. This is installed now. Wanted to bring you back in on this because it's important that you know what goes where. So these are BMW bolts. They're just the regular T25s, and this is a T30. Making sure I'm telling you right on that. Yep, T30. There's a spacer behind here. So when you get the bag of goodies from Toratech, it's going to be the biggest spacer. It goes on the back side of this to take up a gap, and then their bolt goes in to replace BMW's bolt, right? So saying that about BMW's bolt, I really need to give you a word of caution. Oh, by the way, here's the bolts already for this job. See them all in there. These bolts, anytime you see, try to get this out of the sun, get this to focus in it. Let's see if I can make it focus. They're a lighter gray in color. They're not stainless, okay? They're steel, all right? These bolts here, they're T30s and up. I've never seen them in T25. Be very careful with these because it is very easy to strip out the star. It's a softer metal than the stainless, and I've had issues with it. Underneath the seat, I've got a couple that I have wallered out a little bit and may have to actually replace, simply because it's so soft, and I was using just my regular electric ratchet, you know, not an impact or anything like that. So just be really careful with those. But that mounting bracket, as far as structural integrity, it's mounted to a solid point here, okay, which is the up and down factor. This is just to keep it from rolling backwards and forwards, which is really not going to do, right? When it's mounted, it's going to be taking all the force here. And if you're not looking at crash bars and you're looking at just mounting points for accessory lights, like with all the ones that are out there, you could just get a bracket that comes and mounts to this and comes across. I haven't seen one advertised anywhere yet. I know they have them for the GS, but I haven't seen them for the GS Adventure. But you know, this isn't just an aesthetic thing for me. I want it to look good. Everybody does, but I really want a place to mount the lights, and I really want some functional protection for all of these plastics and all of this engine radiator guard and all this stuff that isn't protected like it is on the lower crash bar. I'd like your thoughts on what some of you have seen already, which is the reinforcement that goes from here to here. It's supposed to keep this more rigid so that this doesn't fall in. You know, I don't plan on off-roading this. I'm definitely not going to be hoondering it that I know of. But I've got that one trip 2027 tentative for Alaska, and that's the only place that I would be concerned about that. And also, while you're in here, if you're thinking about purchases that you'd like to make to go along with your bike, now's a good time to be thinking about these radiator guards. So I have the off-road enduro package on this, and this came with radiator guards. I don't think all the BMWs do now. I know my previous GS did not. This is made out of plastic, and originally I thought this was made out of something else, but you know, argument plastic versus for rock protection, this is going to absorb a bump. I doubt very seriously that it would crack it. But if you put something aluminum there and something hit it strong enough to actually make whatever you're putting here cave in and then attach to the radiator, then you got to rub it on the radiator situation, which might be worse. So I'd be curious to see what everybody thinks about the different options that are out there for radiator guards. I definitely wouldn't try to put radiator guards on there from, you know, like Amazon or something like that. Not knocking the stuff that's on there. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you could get that saves you a lot of money, but you don't want something that says GS on it that has a beautiful aesthetic but doesn't have any structure, right? Kind of like the crash bars. Do you really want to take a chance on putting something on a motorcycle with heads exposed like they are on these and not have the ability to protect it with something that's rigid enough to absorb it? I don't. So anyway, food for thought. I'll come back as things get installed. Oh, by the way, when you're installing all these brackets, anything that you're installing with Toratech, you want to try to leave things as loose as you can leave them initially, because there is a little bit of wiggle room and all this stuff. There is some modification. This will go forward and backwards a little bit, and this will move up and down on these. See, there's a little bit more of a slot there. So you want to be kind of thinking about that and kind of keeping things loose. It just makes the install a lot better. Of course, you don't want to step on it and scratch it before you get a chance to put it in, right? All right, I'll be back in a bit. Okay. Motocan. I'm sorry, yeah, Motocan for the configuration and Lone Rider Motolights wiring install. All right, so I have a Y splitter that is right. I'm gonna use this fish stick as a pointer. There's a Y splitter. Okay, that runs to a single wire which is attached. It goes behind this, and then I'm gonna come over to this side so I can show you where the wiring runs. Kind of like my secret. So instead of taking the tank off, I ran the wires up here above that tube, down, and then push through with a fish stick to go all the way through. I don't know if you can see that down in there. I'll try to go in with the camera so that you can. Maybe you can now if you follow the fish stick. And it goes all the way down in there. Push the fish stick through, and that puts the Motocan wire way up here. It's actually right there. See it? Right at the tip of my pointer there. I hope you can see it in there. But anyway, you push through, you see that daylight there. You remove this plastic, and then it's sitting here. It runs up. You lift the 2 bolts off the top of the tank. You pick this piece. You have to loosen these as well. You lift the tank, run the wire under there, lift this up, run it under there. And then the power wire to the white wire on the Motocan is here. Here's the Motocan. This is my brake light wire assembly, which is wrapped underneath all of this plastic. So going back to the Motocan, I didn't use anything but the main wire with the Y splitter. I didn't have to use any extensions. They give you those 1 meter extensions so you can run on either side, and I didn't need to because I'm able to run the splitter all the way to the front. Then this piece will go like this, and over here, that makes my Motocan pretty close as far as accessibility. I may need to move it down, try to get it down some more. But my brake light wire for my B6 goes up underneath here. It's underneath this panel, goes all the way through. All right. Once you get that all the way through, on a non-alarm equipped BMW GSA for 2025, it's a little bit different than some of the videos you've been seeing where it hooks up to the alarm bus. So there's this plug right here. It's basically sitting here. I moved it over some so that I would have some room for this, and I could probably move it back now. But anyway, your Motocan is plugged in here to what was a blank. This piece right here just went into this blank. You disconnect it, you plug the Motocan into the wired side of this, you plug the blank into this side of this, and now you have your power to your Motocan and your communication with the motorcycle. So not too shabby on that. Like I said, the biggest concern that I've got right now is I want to make sure that I can always get access to my Motocan. And if I have to use one of these extensions to make that happen, then that's probably what I'm going to have to do, because I don't want to have to take this off. This has 4 bolts that are real soft metal bolts, and I don't want to have to take those off to get to this. I need to get to this for programming, right? So this needs to be where it can be accessed at a distance. And I might have to run an extension over there to do that, but we'll see. This goes here, and this goes here. Ha, voila! Now I still have access to my Motocan, right? I got extra outlets still I have not used. I put the blanks on there. I'm only using 2. I'm using the red for the brake and the white for the Lone Rider lights. Fantastic, still got 2 outlets left. That was a big decision factor with me choosing the Lone Rider lights instead of the Denali D7s. because the D7s were going to take one whole Motocan just to run them, and there's no point in that, right? All right, so that's how I ran the wires for that. Okay, Motocan for the configuration and Lone Rider Motolights wiring install. All right, so I have a Y splitter that is right. I'm gonna use this fish stick as a pointer. There's a Y splitter. Okay, that runs to a single wire which is attached. It goes behind this, and then I'm gonna come over to this side so I can show you where the wire runs. Kind of like my secret. So instead of taking the tank off, I ran the wires up here above that tube, down, and then pushed through with a fish stick to go all the way through. I don't know if you can see that down in there. I'll try to go in with the camera so that you can. Maybe you can now if you follow the fish stick. And it goes all the way down in there. Push the fish stick through, and that puts the Motocan wire way up here. It's actually right there. See it? Right at the tip of my pointer there. I hope you can see it in there. But anyway, you push through, you see that daylight there. You remove this plastic, and then it's sitting here. It runs up. You lift the 2 bolts off the top of the tank. You pick this piece. You have to loosen these as well. You lift the tank, run the wire under there, lift this up, run it under there, and then the power wire to the white wire on the Motocan is here. Here's the Motocan. This is my brake light wire assembly, which is wrapped underneath all of this plastic. So going back to the Motocan, I didn't use anything but the main wire with the Y splitter. I didn't have to use any extensions. They give you those 1 meter extensions so you can run on either side, and I didn't need to because I'm able to run the splitter all the way to the front. Then this piece will go like this, and over here that makes my Motocan pretty close as far as accessibility. I may need to move it down, try to get it down some more. But my brake light wire for my B6 goes up underneath here. It's underneath this panel, goes all the way through. All right, once you get that all the way through, on a non-alarm equipped BMW GSA for 2025, it's a little bit different than some of the videos you've been seeing where it hooks up to the alarm bus. So there's this plug right here. It's basically sitting here. I moved it over some so that I would have some room for this, and I could probably move it back now. But anyway, your Motocan is plugged in here to what was a blank. This piece right here just went into this blank. You disconnect it, you plug the Motocan into the wired side of this, you plug the blank into this side of this, and now you have your power to your Motocan and your communication with the motorcycle. So not too shabby on that. Like I said, the biggest concern that I've got right now is I want to make sure that I can always get access to my Motocan. And if I have to use one of these extensions to make that happen, then that's probably what I'm going to have to do, because I don't want to have to take this off. This has 4 bolts that are real soft metal bolts, and I don't want to have to take those off to get to this. I need to get to this for programming, right? So this needs to be where it can be accessed at a distance. And I might have to run an extension over there to do that, but we'll see. This goes here, and this goes here. Ha, voila! Now I still have access to my Motocan, right? I got extra outlets still I have not used. I put the blanks on there. I'm only using 2. I'm using the red for the brake and the white for the Lone Rider lights. Fantastic, still got 2 outlets left. That was a big decision factor with me choosing the Lone Rider lights instead of the Denali D7s, because the D7s were going to take one whole Motocan just to run them, and there's no point in that, right? All right, so that's how I ran the wires for that. All right, final video on the Toratech upper crash bar install. It is done. It's kind of late. The light's not that great, but hopefully you could see that the finish is identical to the BMW lowers. it fits really tight. There's not a whole lot of gap there. I don't know if that's still going to make these functional or not. I don't know that I ever plan on really using them. They might still, but I'm all set now for the Lone Rider Motolights. I'll be finishing that up hopefully tomorrow. Hex scans in. I'll talk about that in a separate video, but yeah, all in all, pretty impressed. I may have had a bent one on the passenger side. I had a really hard time getting everything to line up. So I will say, when you do this, pay close attention to your disassembly, because your reassembly is going to be the same, because remember, all this has to come off in order to get to your mounts under here. So pay close attention to that, and if you need to, take pictures, but make sure that everything that you make for connections on the Toratech stuff is hand tight. There are a couple of things that I'll show you that you're going to need as far as tools in order to tighten them up initially. But there's your under and your install. Everything mounted up nicely. Again, everything's really tight to it, so it's not taking up any extra real estate, which, you know, is always something you're concerned about with a bike as big as a GS Adventure. All in all, I'm impressed with it. It was much easier to put the driver's side on than it was the passenger side. Like I said, it might have just been bent. It was an issue. And I mentioned once before in the video that I'm thinking about going with the additional extension support that goes over to here and connects here. Give this some more structure, because they say that this is a, you know, possible K point. And obviously, if this rubber was to touch and it was to stay there, it would probably start melting on there with high engine temperatures. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that yet. But all in all, I'm impressed with what it looks like. It looks like it was straight from the factory like that. So it's all personal preference as to whether or not you decide you're going to install this stuff. I mean, I didn't have crash bars on my GS. I never did a lot of dirt riding with it. I don't anticipate doing a lot of dirt riding with this one, but just the cost of replacing this stuff when the sacrificial lamb might be you bent up a crash bar. But as far as protection for the front fairing, you got a lot more now than you had before. So as far as a DIY job, I mean, we don't have upfitters anywhere near me. My closest BMW dealer is 100 miles away at Cape Girardeau. Fantastic people, by the way. So, you know, getting this stuff and getting it installed, I have no choice really but to do it myself, and I enjoy doing it. The rear pannier racks, I did them in a previous video. I'll just touch back on it for a second. You might look around and see if I posted that video. Still getting used to doing all this camera stuff. The Toratech stuff matches up, like I said, front to back. Everything looks cosmetically the same. I feel like I get a lot more protection back here. I have muffler protection back here now that I didn't have before. It's symmetrical. There isn't any need for a different size bag on one side, so that you have the same amount of distance on each side. And that's what I like about the new 2025s is, you know, I've got Lone Rider bags that are going on here, and I'll be doing a video on that as well. You know, all this is non-sponsored right now, so like I said earlier in the video, if you would like, share, and subscribe. Subscription is probably going to be the most important thing, because I'm not sure where my algorithm is going to hit in the YouTube sphere as far as whether or not I'm even going to generate enough views for you to see it. And I don't have a regular interval for uploading videos, because this is really just a hobby. The whole BMW thing started as a dream, and now it's turned into a passion. One other thing on disassembly: when you take this apart, you're going to take these 3 screws out. They have a plastic washer that goes in them. You want to make sure that you remember that the plastic washers go on the, oh, I got one that's loose. I'm going to be going through tomorrow and retorquing and rechecking everything. I've still got a couple screws that I haven't found locations for. When you are working on this, look for one of these that has a brass insert in it. I can't remember which one it is. It's either this one or this one. You want to make sure that you're really careful with that one to make sure that you're using the T25 and you're getting it seated right, because it's really easy to cross thread. But other than that, I mean, I really didn't have any major issues with it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Come back and see me on the next one.